On November 7th, Global News reported that the Prime Minister had received briefings from CSIS saying that China had funneled money to federal candidates. The Prime Minister said he didn't know anything about it and that he'd heard nothing about it. But since November 7th, since that news broke, did he ask CSIS whether there was any evidence about that type of allegation? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I think that you and all Canadians understand that I have to be very careful in answering questions about national security. Canada and its allies are regularly targeted by foreign states like China, including during election campaigns. This government has taken more steps than any other. We created an independent panel tasked with assessing the risk coming from foreign countries, the risk to our elections, and those panels confirmed that our electoral integrity was not compromised. So yes, I receive regular briefings. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
That's very interesting. He has received briefings. The question then is, did he receive those briefings since November 7th, when Global News reported that CSIS had said that the Chinese government had funneled money to nearly a dozen candidates? So the Prime Minister says he knew nothing about money from China to candidates. However, presumably he would have been curious enough to ask when he read about it in the news. Did he?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Speaker, I think you and all Canadians understand that I need to be deliberate about my answers when it comes to a matter of national security. Canada and our allies are regularly targeted by foreign states like China, including during our elections. Our national security agencies under this government are taking more action than ever, and indeed are among the global leaders on countering global foreign interference in elections. We created an independent panel to evaluate foreign interference threats to Canadian elections that confirms that election integrity was not compromised. I am briefed, but all parties are briefed on threats.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question is, has he been briefed since November 7th about whether or not a foreign power funneled money to Canadian federal candidates? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I have said a number of times in this House, to this moment, I have not, in all the briefings I've received, there has never been information around candidates receiving money from China in the 2011 election, in the 2019 election, or in the 2021 elections. We have independent public servants who are engaged to oversee the integrity of the elections. They confirm the elections did complete themselves with full integrity.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Did he ask for briefings on the allegations that were in the November 7th story? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know the member opposite who sat in a cabinet understands the importance of respecting national security guidelines. On top of that, I know the member opposite understands how important it is to assure the integrity of our elections because he was the Minister for Elections Integrity under that previous government. But under that previous government, while he was making reforms to our Elections Act, he did absolutely nothing on foreign interference. What we did, Mr. Speaker, was bring in a number of mechanisms, a number of new tools to ensure the integrity of our elections.
Leader of the Opposition.
So he wakes up in the morning, he reads a story that says that a foreign government funneled money to Canadian federal candidates, and he can't tell us if he picked up the phone or face-to-face asked his officials if these allegations were true. So we'll move on to a next question. The Prime Minister said yesterday when I asked if there was any electoral interference from a foreign government that there was none that significantly changed the outcome of the election. Was there any interference to his knowledge, yes or no?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Like I just said, Canada and most of our allies are regularly subject to foreign interference from various states, including China, on an ongoing basis and including during our elections. And that is something, Mr. Speaker, that the member opposite would know if he'd paid attention when he was Minister of Elections, but also if he were to ask to his two colleagues who are previous leaders of the Conservative Party from 2019 and 2021, whose teams were briefed before, during, and after those elections on foreign interference.
Right. Mr. Speaker, I have a specific question for the Prime Minister. It's not about money from China. It's not about the government's election panels. It's not about the overall integrity of the last two elections. It's specifically about whether the Prime Minister was ever briefed about interference by Beijing involving any candidates or riding associations. Was he? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
As Canadians would expect, I am regularly briefed by our intelligence officials on a broad range of ongoing attempts at interference against Canadians, against our institutions, by a number of countries, including China. But I can also highlight that during elections, all parties and all parties designate teams that also get briefed by our intelligence experts to ensure that before, during, and after the elections, they understand the threats to foreign interference that have happened.
Député de Mégantic-L'Érable.
Monsieur le Président, c'est lui.
Mr. Speaker, it's surprising that the Prime Minister has not asked for a new briefing about the allegations of foreign interference. It's been weeks. The RCMP has opened multiple investigations to shed light on these allegations. Here's my humble advice. He should immediately ask for a new briefing from CSIS and the RCMP and start answering our questions directly. Or would he rather continue to keep his head in the sand and keep protecting we don't know who by refusing to tell us the whole truth? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, allow me to correct my honourable colleague. I receive regular briefings on all types of issues that affect Canada and Canadians. The reality is that when we talk about national security issues, we have to be deliberate in our answers, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I don't want to put any Canadians at risk. The reality is that our intelligence services are very active in many files. They keep us aware, and they keep all parliamentarians aware through the national security committees.